Clara Winston steps into Bayside International Airport like she owns the place, not in an arrogant way, but with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are. She's got her travel docs tucked into a sleek leather folder, a copy of The Color of Water in her hand, and a first-class ticket for Aris Airlines, Flight 214, Gate B9. Her hair's wrapped in a deep green silk scarf that matches her tailored coat. Every step she takes is deliberate, like her grandmother used to tell her. Even when the world's a mess, walk like you're already where you're meant to be. The terminal's buzzing, travelers rushing, some stressed, others zoned out. Clara scans the check-in area and spots the premium line. Only a couple of people ahead. Perfect. She steps into the queue, calm and composed. But that calm doesn't last long. There's this floor supervisor, maybe late 30s, badge reading J. Carter, floor lead. He's hovering near the stanchions, eyeing the line. He leans over to a junior agent at the counter, says something low. The agent's eyes flick toward Clara, then back to her screen. When it's Clara's turn, she steps up with a warm smile. The agent doesn't smile back. "This line's for priority guests," she says, voice flat. "You'll need to wait over there by the general check-in." Clara blinks, caught off guard. "I've got a first-class ticket," she says, still polite. The agent barely glances up. "Ma'am, we're at capacity here. Step outside the line, please." Clara turns slightly. The line behind her, empty. She looks back at the agent. "Would you like to see my ticket?" she asks, keeping her cool. The agent's unmoved. "Please wait outside. Ma'am, someone will call you if there's space." Clara doesn't raise her voice. That's not her style. She steps aside, pulls out her phone, and sends a quick text to one person. "Just got here." Not exactly a warm welcome. Then she opens her book, a trick she learned back in her 20s when she worked reception at a medical clinic. Stay still, stay steady. Sometimes that's the loudest statement you can make, but her mind's not on the page. She's close enough to hear Carter, the supervisor, chuckling softly. His voice carries just enough for her to catch. She thinks she's somebody. Maybe she's imagining it, but the security guard nearby seems to glance her way too. Like she's out of place. Clara steps back farther, near a pillar by the kiosks and a coffee stand. She adjusts her scarf, hiding the warmth creeping up her face. She spent years teaching herself that dignity isn't something you give away, especially not to people who can't see it in you. A family brushes past, mum, dad, 2 kids, none of them notice her. The agent at the counter's laughing now, chatting with another staff member. Not about Clara, maybe, but it stings all the same. 6 minutes tick by. On the 7th, something shifts. Clara doesn't notice at first, but the terminal's rhythm changes. Heads turn, conversations pause. People glance toward the glass doors by arrivals. A sleek black SUV pulls up on the tarmac access lane, escorted by a staffer in a neon vest. The driver hops out, then the back door opens, and out steps Marcus Langston. He's in a sharp navy suit, no tie, eyes calm but focused, taking in everything. His walk's not hurried, but it's purposeful. He's not here for a meeting or a photo op. He heads straight for the terminal entrance like it's his domain, because it is. Clara hasn't spotted him yet. Marcus Langston doesn't do small talk, not today. As the automatic doors slide open, the cool air barely registers. He scans the terminal luggage carts, families in sandals, business folks with rollers, a couple saying an awkward goodbye. Then he sees her, his mother, standing by a pillar, book open but unread. There's a stillness to her, not weak, not broken, but quiet in a way that makes chaos look small. "Ma," he says softly. Clara looks up, her smile soft but steady, not desperate, not relieved, just the smile of someone who's already grounded, and doesn't need saving, just someone to see it. "Hey baby," she says. "Didn't expect you here." Marcus shrugs. "I was close by." That's a half-truth. He'd landed 45 minutes ago at another terminal after a strategy session in Seattle, but Clara's text sliced through his day like a knife. He didn't build Aris Airlines to collect profits or pose for magazines. He built it for something bigger, and what just happened? That wasn't it. He glances at the premium counter. The agent who brushed off Clara is giggling with Carter, the supervisor. They haven't noticed him yet. "Who told you to wait over here?" Marcus asks, already knowing. Clara doesn't point or complain. "I showed my ticket," she says. "Didn't seem to matter." Marcus nods. Once he steps up to the counter, the agent's laughter stops cold. She blinks fast. "Can I help you, sir?" "Yes," Marcus says, voice even. "Where's your operations manager?" The agent hesitates, glancing at Carter. Carter steps forward, smile half-cocked, ready to charm. "Sir, is there an issue with your check-in?" "I'm not checking in," Marcus says. Carter falters. "I see. Well, if this is about priority, are you in charge of this floor?" Marcus cuts in. "I'm the floor lead." "Yes. Then I need the operations manager. Now." The air shifts. No yelling, no threats, just clarity. "I'm going to need a full staff log for this counter for the last 30 minutes, Marcus adds. Carter blinks, sweat beading. "I'm sorry, I don't need apologies. I need names. The log. Now." Carter's still clueless, but the agent at the far end of the counter isn't. Her eyes widen. She leans to a coworker, whispers something. A ripple of recognition spreads through the staff like a spark. A young guy, maybe 24, with a trainee badge, hustles up with a clipboard. "Sir, you're Mr. Langston, aren't you?" Marcus nods. "Let's take this off the floor." They head to a glass-walled meeting room near the executive lounge. Marcus pauses, looks back at his mother. "Want to come?" Clara raises an eyebrow. "You know I don't meddle in your business." "This is yours too," he says. She hesitates, then follows. Inside, Marcus plants both hands on the table. "Before we start, let's be clear. My mother didn't text me to get anyone fired. She sent a message because she was treated like she didn't belong. The trainee and a duty manager have joined, both looking uneasy. Carter's by the door, silent now. Marcus turns to the duty manager. "Have there been complaints about this desk before?" The man shifts. "Some comments, nothing formal, because people don't file forms when they're embarrassed," Marcus says. "They just stop flying with us." His voice stays level, but it cuts. "You saw her," he says, nodding toward Clara, standing there like she was out. Clara finally speaks. "You know what I learned in 40 years of nursing," she says. "People never forget how you made them feel when they were tired, scared, or at their lowest. That's what sticks." She pauses. "Y'all don't realize how many women my age walk into places and get told to step aside, in different words, but the same message. No one responds. You can't fix that with a training video," she adds. "It starts with asking yourself what you saw when you looked at me, because it wasn't a traveler." Marcus lets her words settle, then breaks the silence. "Let's pull the logs. Not just for today." As the logs are retrieved, Marcus knows this isn't just about one moment anymore. Inside the glass meeting room near gate B9, the air's thick. Marcus Langston sits across from the duty manager, a guy named Greg Harlan, who is nervously tapping at a tablet, pulling up check-in logs. Clara, Marcus's mom, sits quietly, her copy of The Color of Water still in her lap, thumb holding her place, though she hasn't read a word in over an hour. Carter, the floor lead, stands by the door, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Marcus, arms folded, scans the tablet's screen, his eyes moving fast over names, timestamps, and customer notes. Then he stops, taps an entry twice. "Here," he says. 5 minutes before my mother showed up. First-class passenger, older guy, didn't check in online, came to the desk, got a boarding pass printed." He looks up. "Handled by the same agent who sent my mom away. No issues noted." Greg blinks, caught off guard. "I'm not sure what the difference was," he mumbles. Clara's voice cuts through, soft but steady. "I can tell you what, it wasn't." Carter, still by the door, finally speaks up, his voice shaky. "Look, I didn't hear what the agent told your mum, but maybe the counter was backed up, or it was a policy mix-up. Sometimes the system flags things, and she wasn't flagged." Marcus shuts that down quick. "Your line wasn't full. I checked the footage before I walked in." Greg's eyebrows shoot up. "You have access to that?" Marcus doesn't blink. "I built this airline. I have access to everything." Greg shifts in his seat, uncomfortable. Marcus turns to Carter. "Let's try this. When you saw my mom at that counter, what did you assume?" Carter swallows hard. "I didn't assume anything." Marcus leans forward slightly. "Sure you did. Everyone does. Be real. What was it?" Carter stammers. She wasn't acting like a priority guest." Clara raises an eyebrow. "How does one act like that?" Carter fumbles. "I just meant, like she wasn't at the right angle, or showing her phone." Clara's voice is calm but firm. "I was holding my ticket. You looked right at me. The room goes quiet, the kind of quiet where everyone's squirming inside. Marcus breaks it. You want to talk about angles and posture? Or do we talk about why 3 other passengers, who looked a certain way, got through with no hassle, no phone, no problem? Greg opens his mouth, but Marcus raises a hand. No more dodging. This isn't a one-off. I've had 3 internal reports in the last 6 months pointing to issues at this terminal. I let the first 2 slide. That's on me. Clara glances at her son. She didn't know about those reports. She can see it in his face. This isn't just about her. It's bigger, something that's been simmering. Marcus stands, hands in his pockets, facing the glass wall overlooking the terminal. You think I showed up just because this happened to my mum? He asks. I showed up because it proves what I already knew. We're dropping the ball on the one thing this airline was built for: respect. He turns back. Tell me, how many customers have left this terminal feeling like they barely mattered, like they were just tolerated? Greg stays silent. The trainee, a young guy named Eli, looks down. Carter stares at his shoes. Clara speaks up, her voice softer now. People come to airports already carrying heavy things: grief, job stress, sick loved ones. You'd think how you treat them in those 5 minutes doesn't follow them. It does. It sits with them all the way to their seat. Marcus nods, letting her words hang. Then he looks at Greg. I want your recommendations on how to fix this. Not just today's screw the system that made it so easy. Greg nods slowly, unsure if this is a trap. I'll get a full report by end of day, he says. Make it better than the last 2 I didn't read. Marcus replies, his tone sharp but not cruel. But just as the room starts to settle, a quiet voice from the hallway makes everyone freeze. The door creaks open, just enough for a head to poke through graying curls, a faded blue uniform, name tag reading Leon Brooks, custodial staff. His mop bucket squeaks behind him. Greg shifts, annoyed. Leon, this is a private meeting. Leon raises a hand, calm. No offense, sir, but I've been cleaning this floor for 8 years. If something's off, I've seen it crack before it breaks. Marcus tilts his head. Go ahead. Leon steps inside, shutting the door softly. I didn't mean to listen in, but I was cleaning the bins near the check-in when Ms. Winston came up. I saw it all. Everyone's still. Leon's not dramatic, not trying to steal the spotlight. He just talks, steady and honest. She walked up with her ticket, same as anyone. Didn't cut the line, didn't make a fuss. When they sent her off, I looked at that agent, and I knew what it was. Marcus leans forward. What was it? Leon shrugs. I've seen it too many times to pretend it's not a pattern. Someone, older, dressed sharp but not loud, and they get this squint, like, what are you doing here? It's not just your mom, sir. It happens more than you'd think. Carter scoffs under his breath. Now we're taking notes from custodians. Big mistake. Clara looks at him, her voice calm but heavy. Sometimes the ones sweeping the floors are the only ones who notice what's really going on. Leon doesn't flinch. He turns to Clara, gives a small nod, not pity, respect. Last month, he continues, there was a woman, maybe 68, traveling alone, asked for help with the kiosk. The agent rolled her eyes like it was a burden. That woman missed her flight. I stayed late to help her rebook. Greg rubs his forehead. Why wasn't that logged? Leon's answer is simple. No one asked me. I'm not on the report chain. Marcus folds his arms. You are now. The room's quiet again. Carter tries to recover. Look, maybe. We've had a few off moments, but that doesn't mean it's a whole system problem. Let's not blow this out of proportion. Clara stands, slow and deliberate. Out of proportion. Her voice isn't loud, but it carries weight. I came here to visit my As the room starts to clear, Marcus knows there's more to this, and it's not staying quiet for long. The door shuts behind Carter with a soft click. No one claps, no one sighs. It's not that kind of moment. Just a pause before the real weight settles in. Leon steps back toward the corner, ready to slip out, but Marcus gestures for him to stay. You've seen more than most reports, tell me. I need you here. Greg sits rigid, eyes on the tablet, now showing logs he wished he'd looked at sooner. Aisha still standing, scrolling through her screen. We've got a pattern of interaction bias, she says. Nothing blatant, but enough cases where older passengers, especially Black and Asian, get shorter interactions, more delays, more redirects. Greg jumps in, but there's no record of outright discrimination or profiling. Clara's voice is steady. That's not how it works now. People don't say it out loud. They do it with a glance, with how long they hold your ticket, with how fast they call the next person after telling you to step back. Marcus's eyes lock on Greg. Why didn't you catch it? Greg hesitates. Honestly, I didn't want to dig that deep. Thought if there wasn't a big incident, the small ones were just noise. You don't get to ignore patterns because they're uncomfortable. Marcus says, those small moments are how people carry hurt home. From the back, Leon adds, most folks don't complain. They just don't come back. Aisha pulls up another report. 3 weeks ago, same counter. An older woman, Lena Marquez, was told to use the kiosk. She struggled with English. There were open agents, but no one helped. She missed her flight to Phoenix. No one logged it. Greg closes his eyes for a second. That's not a training issue, Aisha says. That's culture. Marcus walks to the glass wall, watching the terminal outside. A kid drags a stuffed giraffe past a guy in a suit. An older woman squints at a gate screen, confused. It looks normal out there, but Marcus knows better. You know what I did before I started this airline? He asks, not turning around. Greg shakes his head. I was a consultant, sat in dozens of rooms like this, telling companies they had blind spots. They'd always say, we don't see color, we treat everyone the same, but somehow it was always the same people getting skipped over. He turns back. I didn't build Aries to be just another airline. I built it because travel should feel fair, safe, human. Clara's watching him now, her face unreadable, but Marcus catches a flicker of pride beneath her exhaustion. Starting today, he says, we're not just fixing leaks, we're rebuilding the foundation. Greg looks nervous. What does that mean? It means this terminal's under review. We're shaking up management. Every agent's getting retrained not just on rules, but on how they see people. And I'm bringing in passengers who've been through this to talk to staff directly. Greg blinks. That's not standard. Neither is dignity. Marcus snaps back. Clara stands again. If you want people to feel welcome, start by showing you get what they're carrying. I've never seen a passenger speak at one of our trainings. Eli, the trainee, says quietly. Maybe that's the problem, Leon mutters. Marcus looks at Eli. You recognized my name earlier, but didn't treat me different. That's rare. Eli shrugs. My grandpa always said people show their true selves when they think you're nobody. Clara smiles softly. Wise man. Marcus claps once, breaking the tension. This isn't just about bad days. It's about unspoken rules, and it stops here. Aisha chimes in. I'll start the restructure report tonight. I also suggest post-flight surveys filtered by age and background to get real feedback. Marcus nods. Do it. As the meeting winds down, someone outside the door's already typing what they overheard, ready to send it into the world. The next morning, the story hasn't hit the news yet, but it's moving through Bayside International like a low hum. A TSA agent heard Carter got walked off the floor. A barista near gate B9 told a flight attendant the CEO showed up unannounced and shook things up. By the time the morning shift kicks off, the staff lounge is heavy with a vibe that wasn't there yesterday. No one knows the full story, but they feel it coming. At 9:45 a.m. Marcus Langston walks back into the terminal. No press, no entourage, just him, moving through security like anyone else. But this time, heads turn. Staff stand a little taller. He heads to the employee briefing room near Terminal A. Inside, about 25 people, agents, baggage handlers, a few assistants, even Leon, who got a personal invite. Clara's not there. She's finally at her gate, ready to board the flight she booked 2 days ago. Aisha's in the back with her tablet. Eli's up front. Greg's there too, looking worn but attentive after yesterday's wake-up call. Marcus steps to the front. No podium, just standing there. I'm not expecting claps, he starts. I'm not here for a pep talk. The room's silent. Yesterday, something happened that shouldn't, not at any airline, and definitely not here, and not just because it was my mother. People shift in their seats. She was turned away from a premium counter she had every right to use, told to wait outside, not because of a glitch or a rule, but because someone decided she didn't look the part. He pauses, letting it sink in. For some of you, that might sound like a stretch, but I've seen the footage. I've read the logs. I've heard stories from people who didn't know they were being watched. Marcus Langston stands in the employee briefing room near Terminal A. No podium, just him, raw and real. About 25 staff members, check-in agents, baggage crew, assistants, and Leon Brooks, the custodial worker who spoke up yesterday, are locked in, listening. Aisha Patel, the regional director, is in the back with her tablet. Eli, the young trainee, is front row. Greg Harlan, the duty manager, looks like he hasn't slept, but he's here, taking it all in. The room's so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I'm not here for applause, Marcus says, his voice steady. Yesterday, my mother was turned away from a premium counter she had every right to be at, told to wait outside, not because of a system error, but because someone decided she didn't fit the part. He pauses, scanning the room. Some of you might think that's a one-time slip, but I've seen the tapes, I've read the logs, I've heard stories from folks who didn't even know they were being watched. He steps forward, eyes moving from face to face. It's not a typical internet explosion, no memes, no outrage bait, but it's powerful, like a slow-burning fire. Travelers start chiming in with their own stories. One writes, "I've been to that terminal. Got told to wait once, even with a priority ticket, thought it was just me, looking too casual." Another, "My mum's 72, always dresses sharp. She says she gets ignored more now than ever. Makes her feel invisible." A third, from a guy named Jamal, "I saw a woman like her at gate B9, didn't know her story, but she had this grace, like my auntie, stood out even when no one paid attention." By the next day, a travel vlogger picks up the story, reaching out to Aeris's PR team. Marcus doesn't do a press conference. Instead, he sends a one-line internal memo. "We don't need to spin this. We just need to live up to what we say." But the buzz keeps growing. A reporter from the Coastal Times verifies a leadership shakeup at Bayside and links it to an internal review. No names, but the details line up. TikToks start popping off, YouTubers drop reaction vids, and suddenly Clara Winston, who doesn't even have a social media account, becomes a quiet symbol of something bigger. Not a martyr, not a celebrity, just a woman who expected respect and didn't budge when it wasn't given. Inside Aeris, the ripple effect's real. Agents at other terminals start holding informal huddles, swapping feedback, asking managers, "How would you want to be treated if you were 65, traveling alone, with a bad hip and a bag full of prescriptions?" In Aeris's Phoenix hub, a supervisor named Carla Ortiz kicks off a peer-led session called "What You Don't See." No PowerPoints, no scripts, just staff, talking about moments they've seen or caused. One agent admits he checks people's outfits before greeting them. Another says she rushes through older travelers' questions to avoid seeming too slow. No one's fired, but things get named, and once they're named, they can't be ignored. Back at Bayside, Leon Brooks gets a new title, Assistant Floor Coordinator. It's not a corner office, he still does rounds with a mop. Same uniform, but he's now on every feedback thread. Marcus made sure of it. Eli, the trainee, sends Clara a message through the company system. "I saw how you stood your ground. Taught me more than any manual." Clara doesn't reply. She's not big on attention, but that note's printed out and taped to her fridge, right next to a photo of her and Marcus at a diner when he was 11, both grinning over milkshakes. But not everyone's on board. Online, some voices call it a PR stunt. Is Aeris just saving face? One ex-post asks. One lady gets noticed because her son's the CEO. What about everyone else? The skepticism stings, but it's not wrong to ask. Marcus knows this isn't fixed. With one meeting or a viral quote, there's more work to do. Meanwhile, Clara's flight to Atlanta is smooth. She's in seat 3B, window, seatbelt, snug, tray table up. The flight attendant offers her a drink twice. Both times, she smiles and says, "I'm good, thanks." She's not angry, not shaken, but something's different. As the plane slices through the clouds, she stares out, replaying the last 48 hours. It wasn't just the agent's tone, or being told to step aside. It was how normal it felt, like the world expected her to shrink, and she was tired of pretending it didn't hurt. She thinks back to her first nursing job at 23, at Mercy General. She had to borrow scrubs from her sister because she couldn't afford her own. Her boss barely acknowledged her, but patients loved her. "You hear me better than the doctors," one said. She carried that through every late shift, every night. She came home to find Marcus asleep on the couch, a bowl of cereal tipped over on his shirt. Now that kid's running an airline, stopping the whole operation to look at what's broken. She's proud not for the headlines, but for how he sees her. and how he knows this isn't just about one moment. It's about a system that's been shrugging off people like her for years. The captain announces their descent. Clara tightens her seatbelt, glancing at the city bellow streets, lights, lives, moving on. Unaware that sometimes a small stand carries weight, her phone buzzes in her bag. A text from Marcus, "Let me know you landed. Got an update you'll like." Another from her nephew and Clara, "You're trending. You famous yet?" She shakes her head, smiling. Famous? Nah, seen. Maybe, and that's new. As the plane touches down, Clara feels something subtle, not triumph, not relief, but clarity, like fog lifting. She waits calmly as the crew preps the door. When it's her turn, she steps off. Same steady pace. She's carried for decades a baggage claim, her son-in-law's waiting, waving with her grandkids in tow. The youngest sprints over, wrapping her legs in a hug. "You hungry, Ma?" her son-in-law asks. "Always," Clara says, laughing. They head to the parking lot. On the way, Clara notices an older man struggling with a suitcase. Without a second thought, she stops, helps him adjust the handle. He thanks her. The story is spreading like wildfire now, but not in a loud, messy way. It's quiet, powerful, like a river carving through stone. That quote from Clara's note, she hopes this place gets better, not for her, but for the next woman who looks like hers everywhere. It's been shared over 10,000 times on X, popping up on Instagram stories, even making its way to LinkedIn. No flashy graphics, just white text on a black background, hitting people right in the chest. A blurry photo of Clara from that day-green scarf, book in hand, standing tall, gets posted with a caption, "She didn't make a scene. She just stood there, and that was enough to shake the room." Travelers keep adding their stories online. One woman writes, "I was at Bayside last year, had a business class ticket, but they told me to wait by the kiosks. I'm 60. I thought it was just me." Another, a guy from Tampa, "My dad's 75, always in a suit. He says he gets skipped over at check-in more now, like he's fading." A retired teacher from Charlotte posts, "I saw her at the gate. Didn't know her name, but she had this calm, like my mom used to. Made me notice how we treat people." By day 3, the story catches the eye of a major travel site. They reach out to Iris's press team, but Marcus doesn't do the usual CEO thing. No polished statement, no media tour. He drops a single line in an internal email, "We're not here to chase clout. We're here to mean what we say." But the internet doesn't stop. A local paper, the Bayside Beacon, confirms a management shakeup at the terminal, tying it to an internal review. No one names Clara or Marcus directly, but the pieces fit. TikTok creators start stitching videos, YouTubers drop breakdowns, and suddenly Clara Winston, who's never touched an app in her life, becomes a quiet icon. Not a victim, not a star, just a woman who stood her ground and sparked something real. Inside Eris, the changes are moving fast. At their Denver terminal, agents start daily huddles, asking each other, "How would you want your grandma treated if she was traveling alone with a heavy bag and a connecting flight?" In Miami, a manager named Javier Ruiz launches a training called Eyes Open, where staff share moments they've seen or cause where someone got overlooked. One agent admits she rushes through older passengers because she's scared of seeming inefficient. Another says he judges people by their luggage. It's raw, messy, but it's honest. No one's losing their job, but they're naming things. And that's where change starts. At Bayside, Leon Brooks, the custodial worker who spoke up, is settling into his new role as assistant floor coordinator. He's still got his mop, still wears the same blue uniform, but now he's in every feedback meeting, his voice carrying weight. Eli, the trainee, keeps that note he sent Clara pinned to his locker. "Your strength taught me more than any rulebook." Clara didn't respond. She's not one for the spotlight, but that note's on her fridge now, next to a faded photo of her and Marcus at a county fair, both holding cotton candy, laughing. But not everyone's buying the hype. Online, some call it a publicity stunt. An ex-post with 2,000 likes reads, "One woman gets justice because her son's the boss. What about the rest of us?" A travel blogger writes, "Is Eris really changing, or is this just damage control?" The doubts aren't baseless. Big companies have faked reform before. Marcus knows this, and he's not naive. One viral moment doesn't fix a culture. There's more to dig up, and he's ready to keep digging. Meanwhile, Clara's settled. In Atlanta, staying with her son-in-law and grandkids. She's back to her routine cooking collards on Thursday, reading to the kids before bed, tending her daughter-in-law's herb garden when the weather's nice. But that day, at Bayside, lingers. It wasn't the first time she's been brushed off. She's felt that sting before at doctors' offices, in department stores, even at parent-teacher conferences when Marcus was a kid. But this time, something shifted. Maybe it was texting Marcus. Maybe it was knowing he'd show up. Not just for her, but for everyone who's ever been told to step aside. She didn't set out to start a movement. She was just tired of acting like disrespect doesn't leave a mark. She thinks back to her early days as a nurse, working the ER at Mercy General. She was 24, borrowing her sister's coat to look professional because she couldn't afford her own. Her supervisor barely spoke to her, but patients would light up when she walked in. "You make me feel human," one man said after a 12-hour shift. She held on to that through every double shift. Every night she came home to Marcus asleep on the couch, his math homework spread out on the coffee table. Now that boy's walking into boardrooms, stopping the machine to fix what's broken. She's proud not for the power, but for how he listens, how he sees the quiet slights that add up. Back at Eris, Marcus pushes forward. He commissions a full audit of passenger complaints across 15 terminals, going back a year. He's not looking for a scandal, he's looking for truth. The data shows patterns. Older travelers redirected to kiosks instead of helped. Click. The story's gone beyond Bayside now, weaving through airports, social media, and people's hearts. That quote from Clara's note, she hopes this place gets better. Not for her, but for the next woman who looks like her. His a movement. It's racked up over 20,000 shares on X, popping up in group chats, church bulletins, even on a mural at a community center in Atlanta. The blurry photo of Clara, green scarf, book in hand, standing like she owns her spaces, a quiet anthem. One caption reads, "She didn't need to shout to be heard. Her presence was enough." Online, the conversation's alive. Travelers share their stories. "I'm 68, got told to use a kiosk even though I had priority. Felt like I was in the way." Another, "My uncle's 80, still wears a tie to fly. Says he gets ignored more than he used to." A young woman posts, "I saw her at Bayside. Didn't know her story, but she had this grace. Like she knew her worth even when they didn't." The buzz isn't just outrage, it's reflection. People asking, how do we treat each other? A travel podcast picks it up, calling it the story that's making airlines rethink everything. Eris's PR team gets flooded with requests, but Marcus keeps it simple, issuing one internal memo. "This isn't about headlines, it's about doing right, every day." Inside Eris, the changes are sticking. In their Chicago terminal, agents start respect rounds, quick check-ins where they ask, "How would you want your parents treated here?" In Houston, a training called "See the Person" has staff sharing moments they've mishandled. One admits she snapped at an older traveler because she was stressed. Another says he assumed a woman wasn't first class because of her worn shoes. It's not perfect, but it's real people owning their biases, learning to pause. No one's getting canned, they're growing. At Bayside, Leon Brooks, now assistant floor coordinator, is a game changer. He's still got his mop, but he's also got a seat at every strategy meeting. His ideas like adding benches near check-in for seniors are rolling out. Eli, the trainee, keeps Clara's note in his wallet. "Your strength taught me more than any manual." It's his reminder to look closer. Clara, back in Atlanta, doesn't know it, but that note's also on her fridge, next to a photo of her and Marcus at a barbecue, both laughing over burnt ribs. The skeptics are still out there. An X thread with 5,000 likes asks, "Is Eris just milking this for PR? What happens when the spotlight's gone?" A Reddit post echoes, "One CEO's mom gets justice. Cool, what about everyone else?" Marcus sees the noise and doesn't flinch. He knows trust is earned, not tweeted. He doubles down, launching a company-wide listening tour. Passengers, elders, solo travelers, people who felt dismissed share their stories in virtual and in-person sessions. Clara's one of them. She's nervous but joins a Zoom from her dining room, wearing a soft yellow blouse, glasses low. For 50 minutes, she talks about Bayside and beyond. "You don't just get ignored at a certain age," she says. "You feel it, like you're taking up space that's not yours." It's not the big slights, it's the quiet ones that stack up. A baggage handler in Seattle writes her later, "You made me see my dad in every passenger. I'm doing better now." An agent in Philly says, "I used to rush through older folks. Your story slowed me down." Clara's words are reshaping Eris's culture. The training program's now got a permanent passenger panel, real voices telling staff what respect feels like and what its absence costs. Marcus audits complaints across 20 terminals, going back 18 months. The data's unflinching. Older passengers get less time, fewer smiles, more redirects. He shares it with every employee. "This isn't about shame," he writes, "it's about truth." The changes keep coming. A terminal in Denver adds greeters for seniors, not just kiosks. In Charlotte, they ditched the elite vibe at check-in, making it feel human. At Bayside, the agent who dismissed Clara's in a new role training, not frontline. She listens to passenger stories daily, learning what it means to see people. She's not out, she's evolving. Clara, meanwhile, is living her life church on Sundays, baking cornbread on Fridays, reading to her grandkids. But Bayside's changed her. She's always carried herself with dignity, but now she knows her quiet stand rippled further than she imagined. One morning, she's at the library picking up a new book, when a young librarian stops her. "You're Ms. Winston, right? The airport lady." Clara laughs. "I'm just Clara." The librarian shakes her head. "Your story's on my feed. It made me check how I treat people here." Clara's quiet, then says, "Just keep seeing folks. That's all." Later, at home, she sits on her porch, sipping coffee, thinking about that. She didn't want fame, she wanted respect. And somehow, her stillness sparked a shift. Marcus visits Bayside again, unannounced, walking through like any traveler. Staff don't scramble, they share updates. An agent says, "We helped an older guy with his luggage today. No rush, felt right." Another shows Marcus a new feedback form for passengers over 65. He nods. That's the floor, not the ceiling. He's not here to pat backs, he's here to keep the change alive. Back in Atlanta, Clara gets a text from him. "Ma, the panel's growing. People are listening." She smiles, replies, "Good, keep it going." The story's not just Eris's anymore. Other airlines start looking at their own counters. A competitor in Dallas launches a dignity-first training. A small carrier in Portland adds senior-friendly lanes. Clara's story, without her chasing a single like, is nudging in industry. She's not online, but her impact is. A TikTok from a flight attendant goes viral. "I saw that lady's story. Now I check on every older passenger." It's not hard, it's human. Clara's at a family cookout when her niece shows her the mural in Atlanta. Silhouette of a woman with a scarf, holding a book, with her quote painted below. "Auntie, that's you." Clara shakes her head, laughing. "That's all of us." She's right. This isn't about one woman, it's about everyone who's been told to wait outside, in words or glances. Clara didn't need to go viral to matter. Her presence, her refusal to shrink, was enough. Marcus knows it's not done. He's in fewer terminals now, but when he visits, staff don't hide, they talk, share what's working, what's not. He's shown them change isn't a slogan, it's his mum, standing by a pillar, holding a book she didn't read, waiting for respect that should have been hers. Eris's new motto, printed on every employee handbook, comes from Clara's. Note, make it better for the next one. It's not just words, it's a promise. Clara's back to her book, The Color of Water, finally past that stuck page. She reads in her garden, the kids playing nearby. She's not chasing the spotlight, but she feels the air's clearer now. She stood firm, and the world noticed. We all walk through spaces that ask us to prove we belong. Clara's story reminds us, be the reason someone doesn't have to